all the way. It'll be an interesting experiment.
Absolutely. Now, that actually kind of leads nicely into a question from Matthias Merkers, who asks really about tool support in C++ and sort of the, when we see about sort of the advent of these new quote-unquote system languages like Go and D. D, of course, is a systems language, probably more so than Go, but you can tell people what systems language means. But he was really asking about, so do you think the lacking tool support for C++, assuming it's true that it's lacking tool support, will be a major problem since there are new, better prepared system programming languages available? He used Go as an example of a better prepared. ND.
So there's a couple of things there. Let me tease that one apart, because the way I'm hearing it, there's a few keywords. So you're already targeting systems programming language. It's important to understand that Go is a very interesting language. I think it does a lot of things really well. In fact, one of the things it does, which is the second thing I mentioned earlier, I would love to see C++ do, is go to a complete left-to-right declaration syntax and expression syntax. Go went at least to the declaration syntax left to right. And once you make that decision, you're going to spell Pascal. You just are going to end up in the same place as Pascal. It's just whether your var and function keywords are going to be spelled a little differently, or whether your pointer is going to be a hat is going to be a little different. But you have only one place to go, and that's a good thing, because the left to right makes you end up in a place where you have no ambiguities. You can read your code in a much more straightforward way, which also makes it more toolable. Right? So there's a benefit there. But Go is not a systems programming language in the sense that we talk about C and C++. I know they use that term, and what they have in mind is distributed systems, all the data centers that you have, and that kind of environment. It seems to be well suited for. Systems programming language for getting close to the metal, high performance and optimization, that's not its intent, as from what I know about it. D, on the other hand, does have that intent, but they didn't make the simplifying syntax changes that Go did, which would make it more toolable, although it is still a simpler language than C++. So are those more toolable? Yes, only one of them is a systems programming language in the way that we talk about it. But are they toolable? Yes. It does cost more to create C++ tools because the language is more complicated. It does have more exceptions in special cases, and so compilers have to work harder to parse the language, and so do programmers, no question. Having said that, it's a relative thing. C++ has strong tool support today. Yes, it's a pain to add more things like refactoring that are easier in other languages. But apart from things like that and the speed at which you can create tools, we have been doing it for a decade or three. And we have strong tool support today, especially in Visual Studio 2010, our previous release. We added some really nice tools in IntelliSense and in the on-demand parsing and compilation and the quality of error messages. We did a lot of work there. Red squigglies, just like in a Word document. Oh, you misspelled that for C++ code. We have it. We're shipping it today. So we're really proud of that. Does C# do us one better because it's a simpler language? Yeah, it does. That's kind of embarrassing, but it's not an all or nothing thing. So we do have strong tools. We're building even stronger tools. And if we find a way to simplify C++ in a way that makes it more toolable, great. Languages that are simpler do have an advantage there. But also, if they're starting from zero, they have some catch-up to do before they come to that quality. But definitely, velocity is interesting, but it doesn't mean that C++ is a tool-unfriendly language. We have some very strong tools today, and not just from Microsoft.
Excellent. So, sticking with the sort of broader questions, and then we're going to go deeper and deeper, get more narrow and narrow. The question is...
in a fairly short amount of time.
Excellent. Now, this is the last question. I think it's a great last question. So let's remove the Microsoft hat and the Visual Studio hat and stuff like that, which of course is hard to do since we're in your office at work. But Petke asked, and this was a very high-rated one, and it's sort of related to a different one, but it's a simple question. What is on the top of your mind, Herb, in terms of your post-C++ 11 wish list? What is your wish list for the next version of C++ beyond where we are today? And I think that's what he's asking. What is on the top of your post-C++ OS wish list?
It would be really nice if concepts worked. It would be really nice if we had modules. But there's a short list of high-order features that might be nice to have. but nothing in particular. As I sit here, I might think of a better thing and then put it in the comment on the C9 video. But nothing strikes me as must-have for C++ next. The one answer I could give is probably going to be unsatisfying to him because it won't look like C++ anymore. But imagine, if you will, that C++ were exactly as it is today, exactly the same feature set, exactly the same flexibility and power and performance. And the only thing that was changed was the declaration syntax. It was simply C++ respelled, no other difference. So the declaration and expression syntax, if they were completely left to right, it would look like Pascal. It would be very quick to parse. A lot of the ambiguities in effective C++ would go away. A lot of the gotchas books you could just rip out a quarter of just by doing that. But would people, it's isomorphic to C++. You could write a converter that go back and forth to this other language, C++ prime. But it's a big source level breaking change. And it looks so different that I don't know if it would be acceptable to a large, wide audience of people in the community. But it would be interesting if someday we could get to even just syntactically simpler a language, because it can be done. We know it can be done with the full power and performance of C++. The question is the code breakage. And that at that point you really do have another language. Why not make other changes while we're at it? So there's a slippery slope there, but it's an interesting area to explore that I think will get some attention, hopefully over the next decades as people think about where should native languages go. And of course C++ is the preeminent one, and so its future right now, it's under active development, and we're looking forward to the standard being issued, and a lot of interesting things can happen in the near future about that, so we'll have to wait and see.
Excellent. Hey, thank you for taking the time to do this.
No problem.
For
Thank
taking
you.
questions from
Thanks
the
for all the questions, by the way. Sorry we couldn't get to 100 of them.
Hey, they were all excellent questions. Thank you. We'll come back and see you again.
Okay. See you next time.
Cheers.
Thank you.